Denny Hamlin has joined us, Virginia's own Denny Hamlin. He drives the number 11 FedEx Ground Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing, two-time winner here in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at Richmond. And how far did you grow up from here, Denny? How far were you actually grew up from this racetrack?
It's about 25 minutes, so probably 15 miles or so, not too far in Chesterfield.
Right. So talk about being able to come here at home track. You're defending Daytona 500 champion, so that was something that you haven't been able to do since you've been here. But talk about what it means to come back here and race.
Yeah, it's love coming back here, love the racetrack, and got to come here and test. Obviously, about a month or so ago, and had a good test, and all of our cars ran really well here in the fall, which is encouraging. And even through the tire change and the aero change, I was pretty happy with it. So we're looking forward to it. We hadn't always run the best here over the last few years, but we're starting to kind of get that back a little bit. And really for me, it's obviously a whole lot of motivation to come here and run well. Obviously the day race is going to change a lot of things. With the track temperature, you're going to have to run quite a bit different setup than what you would for night, and we'll try to work on that tomorrow.
Questions for Denny? Let's start back in the back. Chip, let's get a question or a microphone to Chip, please.
Denny, Chip Riera from 8 News here in Richmond. First off, welcome home.
Thanks.
And second of all, you grew up here in Richmond, love coming back to the track. It's going to be a little different this time. Day racing on Sunday. You had that last year, but now that it's official, what is that like for you, coming back and having a change of pace with day racing?
Well, I like having Sundays off every now and then, but other than that, I think that it's definitely going to put on a great show for sure. This racetrack it does change a lot during the day, but Sunday afternoon the weather looks good, so I'm just encouraged to go out here and have a good race. And I think no matter whether it be day or night, our team overall should perform pretty well as a whole. So. It doesn't matter to me one way or another what day it is, but it is a change for sure.
Sean, you got a question? Let's go with Sean.
Sean Robertson, CBS affiliate here in town. Denny, we've talked so much about the switch, and you guys raced last year in the spring. Can you take anything from that race last year, or will you use more of what you got from the tire testing a month ago to prepare you for Sunday?
I think the tire testing was probably the most important. We have a tire that lays some rubber down here at this racetrack, so we did have to change some things in our car, and I was pretty happy with it. So overall, we'll lean on that test more so than years past information.
Let's go to the far left to Claire, and then we'll come back here to Mark.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. Denny, can you talk about the driver council support of Tony Stewart, the pitching together of the money, and the message that went out from you?
Yeah, I think it's just, it's kind of shows a unity amongst us, and it really has nothing to do with lug nuts or no lug nuts or anything like that. It's more so the drivers believing that they have a right to express their opinion, especially when asked about it in an interview. And so we try to do our best to give honest answers, and sometimes those aren't always the best thing. But I know at times I've been very guilty of being too honest at times, and or too opinionated at times, and it costs you a nickel or two. But we just think that there should be a little bit of leniency there. For someone that knows a lot about our sport, it's been in our sport a long time, and obviously, he gave his opinion, especially on something on safety I think is pretty important. But this is all, as far as what we believe, I think it's all said in the statement. Everything I'm telling you here is my opinion, in my opinion only.
And where do you think the line should be, and do you think that we'll see this more from the Drivers' Council?
I don't know where the line is, to be honest with you. I don't know if there is a line. I mean, there's obviously a line. But obviously we just believe that, you should be able to express your opinion as long as you're not, just totally trashing the sport itself and things like that. But I don't know. I think every situation's different. But we'll just move forward from it.
Let's go back in the back. Mark?
Denny, Mark Davis, NBC 12 here in Richmond. Can you just discuss, from a competitor standpoint, Tony back in the car this weekend, obviously a pretty big headline for you guys. How good is that for NASCAR and the sport and for you guys on the track?
It's good. I mean, this is a retirement season for him, so it was a little bit delayed, but he's now going to be going to some of these racetracks for the final time. And I know just as in general, Tony's been around and traveling each week to the racetracks and been very hands-on with his race team, but it doesn't match being able to go out there and race with him. So I know it's all special memories for us to be able to go out there and compete with him. I know me coming into the Cup Series, being a teammate of his in my rookie season was awesome, but our relationship has grown so much further than that now that we're not teammates. And beyond. So I hope he has a great season. Would love to see him make a chase push if he can, and obviously end on a good note.
Okay, let's go to Dustin and then Brant James.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Denny, I think when the Drivers' Council was formed last year, I think people kind of had a perception of what its role was going to be. And I'm not sure people saw the role as kind of what came out last night with the statement. How has that group evolved? Is this group going into a new area and I guess essentially growing? I mean, I know it's still less than a year old. Are you guys still trying to find your way? Because this seems to be a distinct step that the council took last night that it hadn't taken in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the driver's interest, the owner's interest, and NASCAR's interest is 95% aligned most of the time. There's some things that we feel like we would like to see change. Sometimes it doesn't align with what NASCAR thinks or what the teams think. But I think that this was a pretty black and white thing from the driver's perspective to have a guy that he's coming back and he's in the middle of an interview, gets asked a question, he responds to the question, and he got fined for it. So that to us was a moment, and really for us, I think it just shows solidarity that we're all in this together as the drivers, and we want to have one voice, because that one voice is going to be obviously a little bit louder and clearer to NASCAR when we go into meetings talking about where the sport's going to head from competition to safety and amongst other things. So I think that it's grown a lot over the last year. I think our communication as drivers, the barriers that we have been broken down tremendously over the last year to two. Our meetings with NASCAR has changed the sport, and is going to continue to change the sport for many years.
Right here.
And mostly it's all positive. It's just every now and then, we feel like we should show solidarity to a guy who's done a lot for the sport, and we still don't want to be, so politically correct all the time, and have to filter our thoughts and think about it, because we have sponsors on our cars or owners we got to answer to, or NASCAR. Sometimes you just want to say what you feel, and we feel like you should be able to do that at times.
Let's go front row here. Brant James and then Holly Kane.
Brant James, USA Today Sports. Did you receive any response from the series, whether or not they didn't like it, that a public statement was issued? Maybe they preferred more under the radar. And this incident specifically, this case, was it initiated by members of the council or outcry from the garage in general? How did this one get going?
I think it's more of a council thing. I mean, that's obviously we chat on a daily basis about issues within our sport and things that we'd like to work on or change or stay the same. And when Tony informed us of the fine, we didn't agree with it, and no one agreed with it, and we thought there's something we should do about it. And so I think it was a way for us to send a message back to NASCAR, not that we were trying to send any specific message, but that, hey, we just believe we should have the right to speak our opinion. And whether, I don't know whether every driver agrees with the opinion that he had or not, but it doesn't matter. It's what he was asked, and so he answered the question. So I think that that was the biggest thing for us, is that, we should have the right to speak our opinion.
Series on the statement or anything along?
No, nothing from the series at all, but I'm sure we'll all hear something at some point.
Let's go to Holly Kane, and then we're going to finish with two gentlemen in the back.
Hi, Denny. Holly Kane, NASCAR.com. Going down a different avenue here, I just wondered if you'd talk a little bit about your season, getting the win at Daytona. Has that kind of freed you up to do some different things, and kind of where you see your team right now?
I'd say trying to find ourselves is a good word I keep thinking of. It's not one word, but over the last few weeks, we've tried a lot of out-of-the-box things, and sometimes that can hurt momentum. Texas, we were very much out of the box, and we just didn't run well. Last week at Bristol, we were running pretty good till we got the nose ripped off of it on pit road. So we really couldn't see what we had there. But other than that, Martinsville, I just wrecked, being the fastest car on the racetrack, being dumb, and just, our momentum's gotten kind of halted, I guess, is the biggest thing. We had some really good runs at Phoenix and California and those racetracks, and then as soon as we get to our wheelhouse tracks, I've made some mistakes that's cost us a little bit. And I think we've made not great decisions on experimenting with a few things, but it's all about learning at this point. I mean, we're here in April. We still got months until the playoffs start, so I think it's an opportunity for us to work on things to try to get better, because ultimately, the checks don't get written until the end of the year. So we need to make sure we're good when it really, really counts.
Got time for two more, both of them from the folks on the back row, Chip and then Sean.
Denny, back here again. To piggyback off your season, coming back to Richmond, being a Daytona 500 winner in the closest race finish in Daytona history, does it feel any different being back here with that label on your chest, Daytona 500 winner?
Sometimes I forget about it at times until you kind of get introduced that way, and I didn't realize that it's part of nearly every introduction that you go to. I mean, it's one of the biggest, coolest things was going to the awards last night in New York, the Edison Awards, and getting introduced as Daytona 500 champion, and these are some of the brightest minds in America, and they're excited to see a silly race car driver from Virginia. So it's really cool from my standpoint to have that label, and ultimately, I play a lot of golf with Michael Waltrip, who has two of them, and he reminds me all the time. So I at least need two to stop that conversation.
Final question, back row. Go ahead, Sean.
Denny, back here to piggyback on Holly's question in regards to your season. A two-part question. How do you balance trying to get ready for the chase to actually going out and winning the race? And the second part is, you kind of got the ball rolling for your team and JGR to be so hot at this point of the season. Can you pinpoint as to what has been the factor for you guys being so good at this point of the year?
Well, it's a tough balance because you treat tracks that are in the chase differently than you would tracks that are not. So Texas, for instance, is a chase track. So we tried a direction that we were going to see if that direction is where we need to be when we go back there. And in the chase, it was not the right direction. We know that. But the other races, I mean, I think you kind of know after practice whether you're going to have a shot to win or not, and you adjust accordingly. If you don't, then you're more willing to try some things to try to learn. But you're always out there every race trying to win the race for sure. But there's some weekends you have a better opportunity than others. We know that our program is very strong on all types of racetracks right now, so we would definitely like to log some more wins before the chase starts, because ultimately, the further you get into the summer, you want to start building some momentum and getting some good solid runs going heading into the chase. Some of the more successful chase runs I've had have been 4 or 5 races before the chase, starting to go on a little roll there, winning a few races and leading a bunch of laps. So that'll be a good indicator for us.
And just what has been like the biggest factor for you guys to be so hot? The team as a whole, JGR as a whole, for you guys to be so hot?
I think a lot of it's been documented about just there's some great drivers that I have teammates with that I learn a lot from, and there's tracks that I'm pretty good at that they learn from, and vice versa. We're all learning from each other every single week, and it's just raising everyone's game quite a bit. So I think everything is kind of clicking really well. Everyone at TRD is doing a really good job of providing us the technology that we need to go fast. Every department within JGR is just clicking really, really well right now. The addition of the 78 car into our stable has helped. That's more information, another great crew chief, another great driver that you get to pull information and data from. So it's all just working at this point.
Denny, we're going to do a quick transition over. This is hometown for you, and we have a couple of special guests with us today that are going to join us. We have Delegate Kirk Cox and State Senator Amanda Chase. They are representatives of Chesterfield County, which is Denny's hometown. Just a little tidbit of information for you guys. Delegate Cox was a government teacher at Denny's High School, but he didn't teach you, correct?
No.
So they have a quick presentation for Denny. Would you like to grab the mic and explain
Well, we're delighted to be here. Denny is certainly our hometown hero. I taught at Manchester for 25 years. There were 3 government teachers, and I miss them. That shows what kind of luck I've got. But this resolution is from the Virginia General Assembly, and we do these for very special people. I've gotten to do 2 this year, one for Charles Haley, who had 5 Super Bowl rings, but this one's a little special for me since you were at Manchester, and of course winning the Daytona 500, but just the whole history of Denny Hamlin, going back to Grange Hall Elementary School, which I was in and out of a lot, where I think you actually wrote a letter, it's in there when you were small, that you sort of dreamed of being a race car driver, and I think you said a red, white, blue, and gold car. But this lays out the entire history of all of Denny's accomplishments, and I hope to be back here maybe in 2 or 3 years when he wins the chase. But we just really want to congratulate you and thank you for letting us come down. So.